live. Good morning, everyone. So actually the quick addition right away is the chat box. I just added that in there. I wanted to actually start engaging anyone who hops into the chat. I haven't had a whole lot of chat channel traffic, like live streaming. I honestly think it's because of the so early start. It's at 9 a.m. right, Pacific Standard. Usually people are waking up like around 8 and they're probably watching the news or something. So I think I discussed it earlier that potentially going to move it once I start actually going into work. But it's convenient for me in my studies, and honestly just want to pump out content. People want to watch live, they can. Just an opportunity to kind of keep on a schedule. Pre-recorded stuff, I feel like you push it to the back. So there's that. Now, AWS certified and job potential. Now, actually was watching a few videos of AWS recently. Just getting the call right now. I've gotten some, looked up some videos, and for some reason, I don't know if it's probably not even coincidental. It's probably like AI or something that's picking it up on my side. But the fact that I posted a picture and did a tweet regarding AWS, I started running into more AWS stuff, but I guess not really. I also, because I watch Network Chuck, and he actually did a video with his brother recently who just turned his career into like cloud engineering, and his title's now switched from network engineering to cloud engineering. And he discussed what it took for him to get there and all of that, right? So actually I should put this up here. I keep moving to the right. It would be best if I put my phone. There we go. So I wanted to actually discuss this because I'm actually doing this on the side, and maybe it'll give some people some context in regards to just educational purposes. What does it mean? And how does it actually affect you at all? So I do believe cloud, and I have made comments on this before, cloud is the future, in my opinion, and it's not just my own, and just based on people's reactions to it, and companies, especially the way companies are moving forward towards it. The company I work for, when I got in, the CEO is very cloud heavy. He has a cloud mindset. Cloud. He is very adamant about the cloud. He's very, whenever I suggest on-prem solutions, it's always just a conversation back and forth. And it's a convincing of opposite. So, and this is and I'm working in a very cutting edge new type of venture. So because of that, it leads me to believe, in addition to other stuff, other companies doing the same thing, that the cloud is the future. Now, what does that mean? If you get certified now, and real quick, before I actually hop into that section, is why am I doing the CCNP and AWS at the same time? Now, what I found with myself, I'm very ADD-like. If I dedicate 100% to something, I get... I don't want to say too focused, but I feel that I'm more prone to looking at other things, like more shiny stuff, like grass is greener on the other side type of deal. If I just focus purely on one subject, and then I feel like I'm now in a hole, and as I'm learning this craft for a while and perfecting it and getting certified and like getting all this knowledge for this particular subject, I feel like I'm losing for the other side of the stuff. So I'm doing this attempt. This is the first time I'm actually doing this, so that way it kind of helps me balance out and hopefully get a better outcome. Again, what I always discuss is learning from your mistakes. So one of the things for me is if I dedicate too much time to one thing, I get distracted and motivated, and I feel like I change my mind. I'm more prone to change my mind later on as I dive 3 months, 4 months into the subject line. When you're learning new material or pushing yourself, because this isn't new material technically for me for the CCNP, it's more redefining, getting more of a specialist. As you get into the higher certifications, you become more of a specialist. It's all the same stuff. It's just you get more in tune with the subject line. So BGP, you know what BGP is, right? You know the difference between IGPs and EGPs. But when you get into super granular details of things, that's when you get into higher levels, and you're not being exposed to new technologies. It's the same ones, just you see more under hood and underlining of how they operate. So the more I get into that detail, the more I feel like I'm losing skills on everywhere else. And it's true, you are dedicating more time on one subject line, and you're reducing your experience and knowledge on the other ones just because you're not practicing it often. So that's what's good, actually, to study and have that experience. There's always that balance, and there's always battle between what's more preferred and what isn't as preferred. And it's because of that. It's because of you can study something, have experience over here. That's what I've always done. Networking is a super educational path, and then the experience path for me was very slow. Just because of the impact, right? But for systems, I actually have very little education on it, where little amount of certifications, I only read one cookbook on Windows Server. The rest is just on-prem or cloud-based experience, research, Googling, implementing, research, Googling, implementing. Like, this is the way I've my experience towards it. But the ironic part of that is that I've actually had system admin positions at a high level, and I had eventually got to the network at a high level. And I do believe it's because it's easier to, in my opinion, it's easier to get into the system side of things because your impact is high, but not as high as networking. You accidentally don't copy the config to the running config to the startup config, or hit the save button on a Sonic wall or whatever, depending on the version. You potentially in 6 months could catastrophically destroy the operational side of things for their systems. So it's like, before the routing was set correctly and the port forwarding set correctly, okay, great, it's working fine, okay, great, boom. And then 2 days later, they have a power outage and you forgot to save the config, and all of a sudden you're down again. Or you have 6-7 VPNs and you need to troubleshoot them, and you have it like 3 sites down, and you need to get it done right away. It's just a different level of urgency. For the system side of things, usually you can kind of get around with like copy pasting stuff and kind of patching it together to eventually get the automation and system side of things functional without you having so much administration overhead. So it's just a way to work around it, and that's why I believe that the experience side of that's just the way my roadmap went. I believe that's why. So let's just context on there. But so real quick, so for let me get back to the subject. I got kind of went on the other path. So for the CCNP, that's my 85% target. And then the reason I'm actually referring to this, because I've been listening to Gary Vee recently, and he discussed with somebody with Tea with Gary Vee. He has these calls with individuals, and he discussed the fact that you can do 85% dedication to one thing, 15% on the other thing, and you may actually have more. It'll give you more focus on the 15%. You could just go like they have one different stuff on the 15%, but still know your primary goal, which is 85%, to continue doing something. So for me, it's actually this blog is part of my 15%. I have like a little side business going on. It's also part of my 15%, and then this AWS certification. So with this AWS certification, it's allowing me to still keep up with the times. What do I mean by that, right? You would think the CCNP is keeping up with the times, just because it opens more doors, and I want to talk about that just a little bit later. But for this AWS, in my opinion, based on the fact that Microsoft is moving away from on-prem certifications, I believe that in 10 years, maybe even sooner than that, the cloud certifications will be the replacement of on-prem server certifications. So in order for you to become an administrator, you would have to have one day you will have to have a cloud certification as a prerequisite. No longer will you, and it'll be like maybe Cloud Plus, things like that. And if you look at it, CompTIA doesn't even have a system. So the only systems that they have is Linux Plus, the only one that's relevant. It's A Plus, that you can apply the physical operations like a processor is a processor. And they also throw in the server stuff and the way they communicate. But there's no actual server administration for CompTIA. It's very special. It's not overall. So CompTIA A Plus discusses servers at a hardware level, but not as a administration level. You don't go into CompTIA and you work on a Windows server. You go into CompTIA and you work on a Windows desktop, right? So, but Windows usually kind of was the person, Windows and Red Hat were like the leading physical on-prem administration things. Now, I believe that Red Hat's still the same as it was, but Windows is actually moving away from the servers being on-prem operational certifications to 100% cloud. Now, I think that's because Microsoft is aligning themselves where the cloud is where to go. They want all small businesses to push to the cloud, use the cloud. Don't use an on-prem server. Don't spend 10 grand, 5 grand on a on-prem server when you can get a Azure cloud, spin up something in the cloud and be accessible there. Now, do I think it's going to happen now? No. Do I think me getting AWS certified, and what, just to clarify, if people aren't following me on Twitter or anything on this, I'm doing the cloud practitioner. So one of the things that I picked up from Networks Chuck's video, and I actually should give him a link down below. I've been talking about it. Usually I try to pump out, spend very little time on editing and the description on the YouTube side. So let's just pump them out, right? Just to keep you guys access to this material right away. But I'll look up the video that I've been watching. I still haven't finished it, for Network Chuck and his brother. And he said that this practitioner certification is very easy, right? We're going to talk about how I get upset when people talk about how easy something is. But this is like very, like, what he was trying to say is that this is a very overview, very like sprinkle on top knowledge of AWS, getting familiar with the dashboard, how to create an account, what things mean, terminology, things of that nature. More of a mid-associate level is where you get more like CCNA stuff, in my opinion, where you get material where it's more valuable to the organization. I don't know why I'm popular right now on phone calls. So that's kind of where this falls in line. This is a very like CompTIA A+, or CompTIA Net Plus, and then the CCNA is more like SysOps, AWS, and AWS Architect Solutions Architect, right? So this book's very thin. This book is I believe it's 10 chapters. No. Yeah, automating workloads, and 12 chapters. If you look at there, am I even showing that right? 12 chapters. Right. So yeah, paint this in. Yeah, 12 chapters. So already in chapter 2, I read literally the first chapter was like 6 pages, 4 pages, something like that, something ridiculously small. And it was just about it's just general terminology. And the second one is about creating your account and then just start having screenshots, and they suggest you have an account to actually follow the book. And then it gets into some stuff, and towards the middle and the end, like workloads and stuff, like automating workloads, things of that nature. And I've already kind of messed with that with some Udemy courses. But in any case, it's mainly just for you to have a basic understanding of how the AWS dashboard cloud operates, and what I don't know what EC2 means. Like, I know it's a VM, now I do, but what does it actually mean compared to other things? Elasticity, what is that, right? Things of that nature. So that's what this test does. And one of the things I found interesting was, because I knew going in I'm not going in to change my career in any fashion by me thinking that getting this AWS practitioner. I don't think the certificate will actually get me a big mile jump getting certified. It's a 12 chapter test. It'll just get me familiar with the technology. So why am I doing it, right? And so one is for distraction and give me a kind of like an elective, right? And the second, it could, on top of that too, like while I was doing these research into what to Azure or AWS, my opinion, AWS is more enterprise, high level stuff, like big organizations use it. Netflix uses it. So Azure is more like small, like pretty much the primary focus of what Microsoft's been doing for the on-prem, right? It's mainly for small, medium-sized businesses, more enterprise stuff. They do Linux, they do their own version of CentOS and things of that nature, develop their own programming languages, and they develop applications within that. That's what like Amazon does, Google does, all that. So Windows is fairly small, medium-sized. So that's why I tackled AWS. Top of that, our organization, I'm actually thinking about moving towards AWS as our main platform, right? So now let's take a look at, what I really thought was interesting was taking a look at the outcome of getting the certification. AWS gets you what, right? So which I found really interesting is that, because I live in Nevada. So I live in Nevada. Now, is there any cloud jobs out there? What type of jobs are out there in Nevada? So if you actually look at the cloud availability or jobs in the market, and I know it's going to be different now that the fact that it's a coronavirus, it's affecting the jobs out there, no one's hiring. But honestly, because I remember looking this up a while back, because I was comparing security and cloud and which one I wanted to tackle. And I've been going back with them between those types of technologies often, like whatever. And I always had this outcome, right? So take a look at this. AWS Cloud Practitioner in Nevada, nothing. Like, it's very rare you find nothing associated to like this. That means that every job description within it, see, like Cloud Practitioner jobs in Nevada, about 3 jobs. Respond, EMT, Senior Data Practitioner, and Senior Consultant DevOps. Right, you're not gonna get it with the certification. Like, you're just not, right? So let's knock that out. Then where did I search here? I searched AWS. Now this is what's interesting, right? If you look at Linux systems and network engineer, responsibilities: configure and administer AWS servers, Linux, Apache, Java, and Post, whatever, GRE, SQL. That's interesting. So 2 years experience with security related services, elasticity, especially EC2, Route 53, and RDS. So this is a Linux systems and network engineer, pretty much full stack engineer, and they want you to have AWS minimum, right? This is the job of the future. I think this will be your, right now is like you're like a rarity. Like they're grasping at straws to find this. It's gonna be 2 years experience with Linux, 5 years plus years experience with Linux. They want you to have programming experience, AWS experience. I never even heard of this before, maybe because I'm not in, like heavy in education wise of systems. And then do they have, I configure the DNS servers, routing, and firewall configuration. Like here, it looks like this is just having you basic understanding of networking, and then heavy on the system side. But what's the interesting part is like you're heavy on the system side, but it looks like you're heavy on the cloud. Like you're going to be administering stuff, a Linux administrator in the cloud, and have an understanding of how networks work, period. But the platform is not on-premise, on the cloud. This is what this is telling me. So, and if again, there's 70 jobs available: networking engineer, Windows developer, Windows administrator, infrastructure engineer, senior systems engineer. Like, there's no cloud anywhere. There's cloud within the job description, but there's no cloud something, cloud engineer, cloud this, cloud that. It's in my opinion, this is where it starts. It starts here, and then once it gets to a cloud engineer, cloud architect, call whatever, we'll eventually have a bigger title. I think that'll be a big general, like IT technician, but there's like network technician, desktop technician, there's a field technician, there's like those like that. I think eventually you'll get like a cloud engineer, and then the cloud engineer you need to have skills of, and there'll be a list of things, and then below that you'll have Linux experience, programming experience, networking experience. It's like a full stack guy, and it will eventually encompass that. But right now it's cloud skills within the usually on-prem administrator that you normally would hire, right? So no cloud from, and this searching at nothing of cloud except for on-prem system administration, additional skills, right? This is just searching AWS in Nevada. And I'm always searching in Nevada because you should, me searching across the world, I'm probably going to find something in New York. But later on I'll show an example of equivalent certifications that get you more results no matter where you go, and that's because it's more known and it's more in a demand. So what I'm saying is that cloud is very little demand right now, but I think you're catching it early if you get certified now. So just hold on there. So if I look up cloud administrator in Nevada, I get Windows administrator, and this is Windows systems, and this is similar from the previous result. This one came up in the previous result as well. Experience with cloud technologies, AWS, Azure. So automated deployment within Windows desktop, so that's like scripting. So that's the only mention of AWS. It's just work with, we want you to have experience with it. 365 environment, also a cloud solutions, is software as a service. So that's part of your cloud background, but other than that, that's it. So it's part of a Windows prerequisite within part of your responsibilities as a Windows administrator. This is if you land some of those other prerequisite requirements, part of your responsibilities is actually you eventually need to learn and study a cloud environment if you take this job at Josh Co. Group LLC. All right, so that's for cloud administrator. Now let's go for a senior AWS solutions architect, which you start getting into now is a senior cloud operations engineer. Then you look at this like outcome, like Java AWS Cloud API Service Developer. So this is like a DevNet AWS developer certification that you can get. That probably will qualify you for that. Again, I don't have a lot of experience in the cloud area. Like this is me just as brand new. Like if I was a brand new technician going into the IT field, would look at the Indeed responses, because the reason why you're trying to get certified, usually it's to get a job. For me, right now, I'm trying to get is actually catch up with the times, like I said, on the cloud side. CCNP side, I'm actually trying to I'm specializing even more, double down even more networking. Cloud is so that way I can have some maneuverability as I move up in ranks and do whatever, and find different solutions for different things. So right here is cloud operations engineer. Look, you're never going to get a senior in your title unless you work for a really small company and they can't pay you enough, so they give you this title, or you work for a big organization and you have a whole mess of years of experience. You're never going to get a senior in your title with just a certification in your belt. Like I'm certified in, I'm a CCIE, right? Or maybe if you get a CCIE, because there's no way whatever. The only way you can get, the reason I say CCIE maybe, but even then, no way you can get a CCIE without any type of experience at all, like, and be called a senior. You can have a CCIE and your roadmap will be much higher, but the fact that you're a CCIE and you only work in networks only touch enterprise stuff, you'll get a job at a very like Google or Amazon or something like that, working in heavy networking things, like Cisco or things of that nature. At a like network engineer at Cisco, you have a CCIE. That's like the bare minimum, right? But you won't have in order to be a senior at Cisco, you have to hit, really high. You get a CCIE, work for a small company, you'll probably put senior in your title. Just because of the fact that it's a small company. They can't pay you like Cisco can as a network engineer, and you didn't qualify for them, but you hit this really small company, and they're like, oh, you're a god here, right? So it's kind of like that. Put that in perspective. But if this is a decently sized company, they want you, look, senior cloud, minimum four years experience. You have 4 years experience in cloud AWS engineering development, 7+ years of technical engineering, obviously a degree and all that, solutions architect, developer, and sysops. The first time I've seen the sysops up there, because that's potentially where I'm going to go. I want to go the sysops side and then the developer side, if I decide to go that high. I don't know. So look at all the stuff that you'll need to be having the experience requirements that they're hitting for the senior operational side. You're not going to get it just with this certificate or one of these or both of these. Like, you'll hit some prerequisites and you'll be up there in the HR stuff, but then you'll have to at some point be able to justify and be able to have some type of experience to get to that senior level, right? Or else you're going to get super overwhelmed. So again, the only time I've seen so far is cloud is with a senior operations engineer title. Senior only, no cloud, just cloud or entry level or mid tier. Computer repair guy. So this is where we get into what I wanted to actually discuss, CompTIA's irrelevancy. So with searching CompTIA network, I get more results. I get a computer repair technician with multiple certifications preferred. I get a desktop guy here. Where's my A+ at? A+ here, and look, MCSE on-prem physical server requirements. So you get more results right here. There is 15 jobs of relevancy that actually directly apply to the certification. So the certification actually will get you into the door with a lot of these jobs because they're very entry level. IT support specialist, hardware, dealing with hardware, like directly applying to what you've learned at the A+ certification. Network. This is for CCNA. You actually land, you can, they would prefer you to have a CCNA, CCNP, on-prem experience with routers, and that's it. Like, there's not a big requirement for this systems administrator job. And I believe Allogent is actually a pretty good organization. And again, this is obtainable. This isn't a senior position. This is an administrator position. It's pretty high, but it's achievable by getting 3 years of technical experience. That's the only minimum requirement. It doesn't show 4 years of that, 5 years of this. That means that they're pretty lenient with the looking for, as long as you touched Windows Server before, you have one of these certifications. Can't talk your way out of that. Can't talk your way out of that. And look at VP Cloud Director and VMware Sphere. Like, that's going to the cloud. So that's interesting on that side. So you get just more hits with the CCNA, right? But not as much as the Network Plus, I believe. Oh no, yeah, 45 jobs. It has more jobs than the CCNA, than the Network Plus. So on the CompTIA, 8 jobs. There's even less here, but I just think it's because of the Corona. But usually the CompTIA A Plus hits you more results. Usually if you see the Network Plus, you see the CompTIA A Plus. They show them as looking for the same thing. So you get some more results. You get actual results for the application instead of like nothing, right? So that means that it's in the job requirements or somewhere in there. This is the first time I've seen an obtainable cloud target here, and this is when I looked for cloud engineer, and it's the only one so far. Network engineer. Well, look for cloud engineer. It's funny is I find network engineer, right? That's interesting. So senior cloud operations, network engineer 2 at Vision, infrastructure, advanced support engineer. So these are higher level positions. Systems engineer 2, like what? And then this, I was curious. Yeah, this doesn't show AWS on here. Oh yeah, it does. AWS stack experience. It's just very minimal. 2 years experience. Very minimal, but it's part of the network engineer role now, right? Whoops. Okay. Almost closed my string. Okay. I want to make sure everything's still rolling. Okay, great. So this is actually the first one that I've seen so far. It's a contract position, full time, and it asks for Azure, right? So by saying all this, like, what am I? I'm not trying to downplay too much on AWS and say that, if you get certified, you're gonna get a job. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying though is that AWS is the future, and I feel that when AWS cloud in itself, like Azure and cloud, any type of cloud technologies, is where on-prem will migrate to. You'll always have the on-prem servers, but you'll no longer, in my opinion, have 6, 7, a whole rack. In my first IT job, I remember that we had like 3 racks or 2 racks of, two racks that were stacked front and back full of servers, of like 6, 7, 8 of them, brand new servers. I'm talking about like probably 50, 60 grand of servers. And you would have, you will no longer, in my opinion, no longer have that for that size of a company. For a company of like 3 locations, all pretty close proximity to each other, you no longer have that. You'll have more people investing in the cloud solutions and spending more money on the ISP side. Like, it's better to spend $2,000 a month for your internet, get better internet, reduce your electric bill, and reduce your on-site costs for technician work, technical work, and push it all to the cloud. Then I'd rather have them spend like 15 grand on a good gigabit connection firewall, and then hardware for their switches, and then push everything to the cloud. And then like 1 or 2, like 2 small servers, like Blade servers or something, that you may need to spin up if you need to pull backups from the cloud or locally restore backup to your server and get it up and running. That's how I would design it, right? But in my opinion, in order for you to get that in such high efficiency and understand the proper solutions for them, is actually have some cloud experience. So I believe that it will be the future in probably 5, 10 years, and maybe even sooner than that, right? Companies are already doing so. And especially now with the coronavirus. That coronavirus is very interesting because we're pushing everything to the cloud. We're pushing everything remote. So what does that mean for us is that you either purchase more hardware for VPN. One of the considerations is security. So, okay, well, how do you properly secure your networks to make sure that there's no vulnerabilities or anything of that nature happening during your migration or when people are working day to day? Is VPN technologies. But your hardware needs to make sure it's capable of doing such. If you have 1,000 employees and you only had at the time like 5 or 6 remote workers that were privileged enough to work remotely, quote unquote, you'll have a situation where you're no longer having 25 people. You actually have 1,000 all remotely in just one day. Now what? Your firewall isn't capable of handling that because it wasn't designed for that. What you probably did is that when you're on the phone speccing out this particular hardware, and the engineer was like, look, you have 1,000 employees. Is there an idea? No, and they probably went back and forth. But yeah, you're probably right. You're probably not going to have all of them go remotely, right? And if you do, you probably plan like, yeah, definitely. Okay, great. Well, this firewall will help you with this amount of VPN connections, this pound, whatever, with this amount of traffic. Okay, great. Boom, design it, purchase it, boom, within budget. Then you get a situation where you hit the corona, and then all of them got to migrate. Now all of a sudden you're talking about from a $5,000, $2,000 investment that happened 2 years ago. Now you're talking about $15,000 investment, and configuration, turnaround time, all of that. Now, what's the solution for that? Well, Palo Alto is putting a lot of their security solutions on the cloud. So you can actually have like a dummy firewall, just routing traffic, push it through a VPN tunnel to a Palo Alto security solution. They call it Prisma Access. And you literally just expand how much throughput you need to push through. So all of a sudden you're passing 100 meg of traffic through that VPN tunnel. Now you're gonna pass a gig. You just tell them, I need to increase the storage, increase the throughput for my security, and then you're golden now. Now you're able to dynamically scale through different types of solutions. Now, if you need a solution now, but in 6 months you don't need it, it's like as a service. So you can actually reduce the cost for that. But if you buy hardware in 6 months, you're stuck with that hardware. So you still have to pay the $15,000 investment. So there's trade-offs to that. And the cloud allows you to be more flexible. Same thing with managed services. Managed service providers are a way for you to dynamically remove and add services as you can afford them or as you need them. So 1 month you may need the service, and next month you don't need the service. So that's pretty much how it works. With the cloud, you can do that. You can spin up servers, test something, shut it down. You don't have storage here. You can test the solution up in the cloud, remove it, implement it on-prem, because you don't have room on-prem to actually test a solution and do all that. So that's one of the things that I'm actually looking forward to do on my environment, is test things on the cloud, implement it on the cloud, then shut it down, remove the configuration, do all that, migrate it, or migrate the config to on-prem, and will be spinned up and ready to go. So that's one of the things that, or even training. You can have live server environments for training purposes, and then get a training budget for your staff members, and they can log into stuff from home or whatever they want to do, and they have a dedicated server for them to play around with, right? So these are the things that you can do using the cloud platform that allow you to either expand your business, save money, be secure. And one of the things that's pro on this is that on the cloud, you don't worry about the physical components of it. Like I would worry every day if a piece of hard drive dies, or power supply dies, or the whole thing shut down. For some reason, there's a catastrophe and one of the processors burns out or something. I don't know. And what are you going to do after that? Or how are you going to restore the firewall? How are you going to do all these things? So for the cloud, it allows that extra room to breathe, because you know that if you're pretty much all the pressure on AWS, and all you do is a configuration. If you mess up the configuration, you can actually just restore the VM from a different time you change the config, and your simple process done. So that's the benefits of the cloud, and I think that's where the requirements moving forward would end up being, well, for you as a professional, would be having cloud competency. And I always think having a more specialized, where it's like AWS certified instead of like CompTIA general certification, is always better. So I wanted to start off with the practitioner side and get familiar with AWS platforms. And then if I feel like, all right, I want to advance more after my CCNP and all that, and dedicate more time, because I heard the architect solutions is difficult, and I'm pretty sure the developer side isn't easier. So I'm thinking about moving forward on that direction. But I actually want to just taste AWS and see what they are like. And this shouldn't take too much energy. And AWS but Cisco just did it today. They're allowing remote certifications, that you can take it from home testing. But I think AWS is going to stay permanent like that. I don't think Cisco will stay permanent. But that's a pro here. I could just like order it, and the test is relatively cheap. It's $120. I think anything over $100 is expensive. But practitioner study guide, that's what I'm attacking just as an elective. And one of the things too I want to look at, that I recommend everyone when they're studying, is just looking at each certification track as a semester. So put enough time as if you would study a class, and then you can people study like 4 or 5 classes, done 4 or 5 classes in a semester. You can do I don't want to say 4 or 5, but you can do a few certification tracks at the same time, because you got to split up your time and then go into mode as if you have to. If every week you have to turn in a paper about a chapter, how come you don't write a paper on a chapter and set up your own curriculum to study for a certification? So that's one of the things I'm tackling this whole approach to my CCNP and my AWS. The challenging part would be when I start actually going into work. I can no longer be flexible when I work and when I don't work. I will have to actually go into work because of certain constraints, because of certain things that need to get done at a certain time frame. However, that's part of the challenge, right? You don't stop a challenge just because it gets a little difficult. You just adjust. So that's my 2 cents on AWS Cloud, why I'm taking the practitioner, and what I think the future will be like just in general, right? I think that cloud in itself will be a prerequisite for a lot of the administrator jobs going out there, and junior admin jobs especially. I feel like that'll be a prerequisite to learn it. And I believe someone at my position, a director or a manager role, will need to have a basic understanding of different types of solutions, and this is one of them, right? Starting here is a CCNA level in my opinion, but doesn't, again, the CCNA, like as I demonstrated, the CCNA opens more doors and it prepares you at a different level than this does. One of the things that Network Chuck's brother just mentioned didn't mention in the video, which I'll link down below, I promise, is that it didn't open up an extraordinary amount of doors when he got the architect, which is a level higher than this one. You need to learn programming languages and other things, and just supplement your certification with more skills. So the CCNA, it's mainly like it give you a lot of skills getting the certification. So usually off the bat, you're pretty much qualified for a junior level network administrator. In most cases, what I've seen, a full-on network administrator position after the CCNA. You'd be surprised how many people value that because of the complexity of networks sometimes. And at CCNA, they challenge you at a very high level. So that's pretty much my 2 cents on the cloud and why am I doing it, what I think the future is, and what I think just the IT roadmap for the future. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and if you're on this on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. It'll be real dope for me. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.